French Cameroon is fire while Nigeria is water. These were the words of late Fon Achirimbi when he warned against the issue of plebiscite by either joining the former the Republic of Cameroon or the Federal Republic of Nigeria. By fire, Fon Achirimbi meant that fire can consume the former British Southern Cameroonian if care is not taken, and by water he meant that we can sing as a people of the former British Southern Cameroon when we associate with Nigeria. And when the issue of plebiscite was raised further, Fon Achirimbi came in and said it would be unwise to follow the abandoned and unsecured vessel which did not give us hope at the horizon than to abandon the secured and floated vessel which gives us hope at the horizon. By this, Fon Achirimbi was questioning the foundation of association by either joining the French Cameroon or by joining the Republic of Cameroon. He wanted an independent Southern Cameroon whose foundation will be based on its bicultural nature in terms of respect of norms and principles. But the issue continued, and former British Southern Cameroon voted to join the Republic of Cameroon in an association mode. Fon Achirimbi warned that the abandoned and unsecured vessel will not give us hope at the horizon, and today we are witnessing the abandoned and unsecured floating nature of the vessel, which has been captioned the Anglophone crisis, as earlier warned years ago. The fate of those within North and Southwest region hang in the balance as the two agitators, that is the government and the non-state armed groups, are battling words with "we are winning fatly." The question now is, between these two persons, who is winning? There are no winners as far as the war is concerned. The common man continues to wallow and grind his teeth at the mercy of those who are smoking guns in and out of North and Southwest region. Today's edition of our program, the motion is, who is afraid of dialogue between both parties? This is the motion for today. I am Tamai Jarvis. I'll be right back. You're welcome back from that brief transition. I begin by introducing to you my guest with whom we are going to continue our discussion for today. The motion for today is, who is afraid of dialogue between, who is against dialogue between the non-state armed groups and the state armed groups. The fact of the matter here is that there are two categories of persons within both parties. One, those within the camp of the government that want effective dialogue, and there's those that are blocking the dialogue. The obvious reason is because there will be the formation of new political elite, and those who are elite will be relegated if effective dialogue is going to set its pace. That is why most may not want dialogue. On the side of the non-state armed groups, a lot are equally against dialogue on the pretext that it will not favor them in terms of selecting them as the political elite class, and some are going for the economy of war or the war of the economy, regardless of the way you put it. Mr. Mbaku Jut is a journalist who has been practicing in Cameroon for quite some time now and understands the dynamics of the ongoing Anglophone crisis. His view is to see that there is peace in all ways, such that the common man can better live the life as they used to live in 2015. Mbaku Jus has gone to the North and Southwest region on several occasions and understand the plight of the people as far as the crisis is concerned. Mbaku Jus, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, for introducing me as a peace journalist. And you know, we've got a network. We're working tirelessly to ensure that we curtail the reports we do to ensure that whatever reports we send out there could be helpful to the population. I just want to say happy Nelson Mandela Day to everyone watching us. And may I just quote these few words of Nelson Mandela before he went to jail. On the day that he was going to jail, he said, I have cherished the idea of a free and a democratic society in which everyone live in peace and harmony. It is an idea for which I have chosen to live by, but if need be, it's an idea for which I want to die for. So I want to extend regards to everyone watching us and the very able panelists on set today.
As the technician looks for a way to remove the graphics on the screen based on kind of omission and addition, I want to welcome a Pan-Africanist, someone that believes in the unity of African in its diversity, and believe that Africans must come together as a people to fight against cultural imperialism and European westernization in a way that will respect the value, the dignity of the Africans, in which the normal tradition of African will be brought in other ways that we shall as a people showcase our talent in diversity. Professor Mark, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Jarvis, and to my every panelists, you're all welcome. And to you watching us out there, I want to say this is a blessed afternoon, and I believe that we will be discussing on issues that concern not just Cameroon, but actually concerning Africa, because the various crises that we are experiencing in some parts of Africa, for example in Mali, for example in Cameroon, Sudan, and other nations that we might not be able to mention at the moment, are actually the reasons why we get weak in struggling to attain the unity that we desire to attain. I want to believe that the time is coming when life is going to have its pure meaning, and until that time, whatsoever we'll be doing now will just be to solve the problem which we need to solve. For example, the situation that is happening in Cameroon, the northwest and the southwest regions, is actually a situation that is actually killing the country and destroying the economy of the entire Africa, not just Cameroon as a whole. But by the time we sit and talk and nothing is done, that will means that we'll be wasting our time. But I believe that action is now. Action time is now. And as long as action time is now, we necessarily are not going to sit and do nothing. So, Mr. Jarvis, I want to tell you that this particular program that you actually have brought up today is just the best in a time when it seems as if some individuals are not willing to see that there should be an end of this crisis. Okay. We are going to do everything possible to make sure that this problem is solved.
676431384 is the number that you can use to get to us. Who is against a dialogue in the ongoing African crisis? He is a young and vibrant politician and believes in the fact of objectivity and see that things must be done in a way that the common man's interest will be protected. He is a Secretary General of the Popular Actions Party and equally a motivational speaker, and believes that many Cameroonians need to be given the pride of place in order to make their voices heard and count. He is Fabrice Lena. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Jarvis. Good afternoon to Cameroonians. Good afternoon to my brothers and comrades in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Once more, it's a pleasure for me to be part of this noble and wonderful program to give my own contribution as a youth leader to see into it that the Anglophone crisis is brought to an end. It has been the preoccupation of the Popular Action Party since 2016, especially as we are victims of this crisis. We will do everything within our capacity to ensure that we obtain ceasefire and definitely peace for our people.
Thank you very much. And here in the studio we have Barrister John Ako John, who is someone, I think if I have to read his profile, we may not kickstart the program. Barrister John Ako, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, I sincerely always coming on your platform and sharing one or two informations concerning Cameroon. Why North Africa has always been a pleasure to some of us who are considered as the voices of the voiceless, and again, people in support of a lawless state. And so we are presently fighting against the crisis in the northwest and the southwest. And then your topic, which is again intriguing, asking us who is at the forefront and who needs dialogue and who does not want dialogue. I will tell you sincerely that the government has made a lot of propaganda and that several decisions or the resolutions arrived using the pen of the President of the Republic. He is said to have the power of the prince, and that within him as the head of state, he has the powers to bring an end to this mess. Sincerely, the development of the new elite, the growth of the civil society in Cameroon is posing a lot of threat to the ruling class, and several times when we come forward to fight for Cameroon, all of us and many others have been accused of sidelining or being against the state, which means many are more citizens than others today many love the nation Cameroon than we do, and that those who are in power, they now call for the tune and then allow that we dance at that nature. Before coming here today, a question or a worry that has been disturbing me was, how many times have we been talking about the same issues and then nothing is changing? At any time a decision is taken, is what Cameroonians are not even for. When we call for dialogue, it took 3 years for dialogue to be called. And we imagine the type of ambush and dictatorial dialogue that was made with a single agenda drawn by one party, expecting that the various partners that are involved in this struggle should adhere to its dictation. In fact, the dictatorship of Cameroon has become one that has been delaying the resolutions or the way forward of this particular crisis. And we wish very strongly that the country Cameroon will come to understand that delay defeats equity, and that if they continue to act in the way they are acting, things may get worse, even though there's a lot of propaganda that they are winning, and they are winning bigly, but we are not feeling that on the ground. Remember, the budget of the state was contracted, that we are not the ones saying. The state knows that we are going through a crisis. Again, now when you look at towns like Konsamba and Douala, the prices of basic commodities or amenities have been skyrocketing. The CDC, which is considered the second employer of the state, is just now existing as a shadow, and the name exists as such. The plantation, the bananas are down. These are realities which in a more better nation like Cameroon, we expect better resolutions to arrive at a possible and more sustainable peace within the Northwest and the Southwest region. You cannot have a finger that is paining you and you claim that the finger is not too necessary and that you can use your toes. It is never the same. We need to accept that we have a problem, and this particular situation needs a long-lasting and more sustainable solution to handle.
Thank you very much, Barrister. I'll be coming back to you. I'll come now to Fabilena. Fabilena, we are 4 years on into the war. We understand that the Popular Action Party, they have a roadmap to ensure that this crisis is resolved from a perspective that will ensure the unity and diversity of Cameroonians. And when we look at the much talked about dialogue from the camp of the Anglophone separatist leaders and the camp of the government, both of them are singing the same song, that they want dialogue. But seemingly the place for dialogue is far from their presence. Who is against dialogue?
Thank you very much for that question. I will start by saying that Cameroon is a very complex state, and the composition of the government in place is such that some individuals have decided to exercise their vices in their various positions, and the very constitution or structure of the Cameroon government does not permit for transparency, for accountability, or anything that will even permit people, for us to trace the people who are responsible or blocking that this dialogue or ceasefire should be pushed through. When you look at the side of the government, because I will first of all want to exonerate the separatists or the secessionists. I will exonerate them first because they are non-state actors. Secondly, because they were pushed to the wall to react the way they are reacting. And thirdly, because these people had been singing this song as far back as the 1984, 1990s, right up to 2016, which means it is a culminated problem. It is a problem that had been gathered for a long period of time before it came to explode. Now, on the side of the government, we discovered that it is the state which is recognized and registered by the United Nations. It is the state that is supposed to guarantee the safety of its citizens. It is the state which is supposed to take the challenge of being humble. It is the state that is supposed to say, well, at this stage, we accept that we've faltered, we've blundered on this path, on this particular aspect, and let us as a government see into it that we ensure peace. But then the action of the government is a complete opposite of the expectations of the population of Northwest and Southwest, or even the international community.
Fabrice, let me ask you this as a follow-up for coming to other members of the panel. On the 30th of September, there was a period for the major national dialogue, which the government had giving invitations to the non-state armed groups to be part of this dialogue, and the government formed committees in the major national dialogue, and resolutions were arrived at. They were followed from the major national dialogue, such as the creation of a special status was given, and the House of Chiefs, and the issue of bilingualism was raised, the issue of equal distribution of income. Are you by any means saying that was not a dialogue?
Let me first of all say that the manner in which Cameroon government is functioning does not reflect the Anglo-Saxon way of doing things, or even the Pan-African system of doing things. When we want to look at the way African society existed before colonialism, the Cameroon government does not even have those aspects of the traditional African society that upholds good values for the benefit of the people. And when we want to also look at the colonial heritage led by either France or Britain, none of the good aspects of either Britain or France colonial heritage is being implemented by this government. So in all sets, the government has chosen to only take aspects of the colonial heritage that does not favor the people, does not favor their system of governance, does not even favor the emancipation of their own country and Africa. In that set, when you look at Biya's government, it has never in the history of its birth bring any solutions, whatever commission, whatever plan or project that had been with the primordial aim of solving problems that are affecting Cameroonians, especially the people of Southern Cameroon. The dialogue was a complete sham, total failure, nothing to drive home about. The president's speech.
When you say sham, when you say sham, what do you mean by sham? The
dialogue in terms of content, in terms of participation, in terms of facilitation, in terms of the place, in terms of the people who were concerned. The government is a government that is deliberate to isolate people who are not going to agree with them. They rather prefer to work with those people who are going to accept what they are saying because of their arrogant and intimidation.
Do you mean to tell me that? Do you mean to tell me that someone like Nijon Fundi, Cardinal Christian Cardinal Tumi, Agokogobala Felix, someone like Dr. Munzo, someone like people who could be intimidated by the government?
The quality of the persons that Southern Cameroonians look as their leaders, or they see that they can talk on their behalf as representatives, are not the people that the government is choosing to work with.
But the government
the opinion of the public is not necessarily the opinion of the population, especially these people who go around making noise in the media. I want to say this because people think that being a political leader or the Secretary General of PAP, I might take an opinion and go in a forum, but how far does that opinion reflect the aspiration of the people? The effect and impact of what I say in that forum to the people, is it able to solve the problem that the people are decrying?
Okay.
If yes, I reflect the aspiration of the people. If no, I don't.
We're coming back to you. We're coming back to you. You have raised the issue of legitimacy of that those people who were at the major national dialogue did not represent the people of West Cameroon and the voices of West Cameroonians, and that Southern Cameroonians, and the issue of legitimacy is will be coming. I will ask you the same question when I go around that who actually voted those you want to represent the people on the of the major national dialogue. And Mbaku Jut, Mbaku, you've listened to Fabrice Lena. Let me come now to you. The government of Cameroon will tell you that they've made series of concessions, starting from the Prime Ministerial ad hoc committee headed by Paul Minget Gogomo, which resolutions were arrived at: redeployment of teachers, subvention of 2 billion, creation of bilingualism commission, redistribution of ministerial position, where we have MINAT under Anglophone, we have MINSEC under Anglophones. I will tell you that they released series of prisoners, and they keep releasing prisoners. That created the measure disarmament, demobilization, DDR center, and that they have made series of concessions, and that is non-state armed groups has not even made a concession that they have done this. The question now is, who is afraid of dialogue, looking at the paradigm on the field?
Government has done all that, and yet government is still afraid of dialogue. Because if government weren't afraid of dialogue, government would have just called for dialogue than waste a lot of energy, time, effort, resources towards what they are doing now. Now, even if I tell you that I'm hungry, and you have to give me even a cow, that I don't want a cow, I just want a plate of rice, you understand? That cow will be waste. So all those efforts, I said it last time, and I always keep saying it, that government has taken a direction which it needs to put back government needs to put back reverse in its car and come back to a particular junction, then take the right direction. A lot of effort is done, but with the wrong methodology. Yeah, government has done effort. They have created committees, they have given aid, but when you look critically, analytically, those are efforts they do within the crisis. Those are they are trying to address after effects, the effects of the crisis in a crisis, rather than solve the crisis itself, the start point of the crisis. You know, the offshoot where the crisis started. Like now, the leaf of the crisis are brought, the branches are brought. You want to go start cutting the branches, it will not solve the entire problem. So, who is afraid of dialogue? Government at this point is still afraid of dialogue, because what Fabrice is talking about, Fabrice just made an elaborate exposure on the dialogue that held last year, and if actually that was a dialogue, then we need I don't know what definition one could give that, because it wasn't a dialogue. From my understanding, a dialogue is a talk between two or more persons. Now, you come together, you concert, and you make a platform where you could discuss on issues. It cannot be one person bringing an agenda for a dialogue and the other partner is not there. It means you just held what happened was a consultative meeting within government stakeholders. The people government thought that it could get ideas from them. And I don't deny, I'm not against what happened. It was good, though not a dialogue in its real sense, but it was good because it gave government the opportunity to have critical ideas from people like the civil society organizations that were there at the dialogue. It gave government the opportunity to listen to people who have been accompanying them in their governmental drive, like the Social Democratic Front Party, the Tumis, Funja, and all the likes. They were there. It gave government opportunity to listen to experts in different domains. So government within that era right up to now, within this period, would have expected that a real dialogue would have come up. That's what we're hoping. And a real
dialogue, people may is kind of intriguing because when we look at what the government has been telling us and what the non-state angles have been telling us, the government says they remain committed in looking for peaceful way in resolving this crisis, and they equally say that we call these guys on the major national dialogue. We dish out invitations to Mark Barata, Tapang Ivo, and the co, and they did not attend. And we promised not arresting them. And we called somebody at Padi Asanga and co, and we did not arrest these guys. It therefore means that we are open to dialogue.
I am one person who have been able to. I've done a lot of reports, many reports on the dialogue. In fact, within that period, we did many reports, and we got to many of these stakeholders. Some of those who are in the diaspora and the separatists, I say it, I did an investigation on this same issue you're raising. They were served invitation for the dialogue. So why didn't you represent? Because at one point we even questioned, why didn't they form a consortium? If you don't want to come because you're scared that people that you might be arrested, why don't you send a lawyer? If you create a consortium and you send your legal team to represent you on ground. That's why I also fought them, the separatists, because they would have used dynamic ways to represent.
Yeah, that's what the government is saying, that they are afraid of dialogue.
Yes, on that dialogue, partially, if you want to put it from that perspective, they may have been afraid. But if actually was a dialogue, then they would have been consulted. Not invited on the dialogue day, but consulted on what to be dialogued upon. But now, when you go on social media and on online media, the government is first to say issues of the state cannot be talked on social media. And then when you go again on social media, on online, and you're dishing out invitation to people, somebody just sit in his office one day, you see in his email, Mr. Mark Barretta, you have been invited for a measure, just like every other Cameroonian, and you know that these are the primary stakeholders in the crisis. This now you make the playground not level. So those guys in the diaspora, first of all, to them, some of them explained to me that they were humiliated by the methodology. That's why we keep complaining about the methodology.
Okay, you're stating that the methodology used in contacting them was not appropriate.
It was very poor. You don't pick a stakeholder with whom you're supposed to sit on the table and dialogue.
Are you by any chance saying that it was like a premeditated act not to get them on the table?
Government, first of all, is on a very serious horse. Government is like 8 etages up, and then the people are beneath that on the basement floor. That's the government ideology. When you keep repeating that, I cannot dialogue with terrorists because those guys now by government are terrorists. This is where we have a deadlock, because in crisis, in conflicts like this, in crisis actually, because we are in a crisis situation now, when you are in a crisis situation and you don't want to accept the crisis, which is the basic or the fundamental level of crisis management, you are making it difficult. Government does not want to acknowledge the fact that it is at the same position with these separatists now at the level of the crisis. When it comes to the lives of the people, you come down from your high horse. I keep repeating, in 2019, last year, February 2019, in the Central African Republic, the government of that country called 17 armed groups. They sat on a table and discussed how to end the crisis. Now, it was for the good of the people, because government is not losing anything by the government itself.
Okay,
the separatist leaders are not losing, but the people who are losing are the common.
Okay, let me come. I will come to you, Barrister John Ako. Let me take Professor Mark. Professor Mark, we've looked at a wide range of issues. As far as this issue of dialogue is concerned, who is afraid of dialogue? The separatists will tell you that or the restorationists will tell you that they are willing and able to come for dialogue. But when you look at their camp, they are highly divided. Some don't want dialogue at all. Some want dialogue with preconditions. Some say we will not come to the dialogue table if the issue of federation is raised. We want just independent or nothing else. And we understand that for you to go to the dialogue table, you must go without preconditions. With that, are we saying, or can we conclude that they are afraid of dialogue with what you are saying? Because you know that this person will not accept their preconditions.
Jarvis, I will be direct on this. Concerning this particular idea of dialogue is not monologue like what we saw. You just mentioned this just ended in September 2019.
MND, Major National
Dialogue. I will not consider that to be a dialogue. When you are going for a dialogue is between two persons, and actually it's supposed to be mediated, and not only mediated, but it's the placement also should not be chosen by one party, where the dialogue is supposed to take place. It's not the decision of one of the parties. And when you talk of coming for a dialogue, you don't come on a high horse. You come on a level ground to play as an equal partner. So, who is afraid of the dialogue? I will tell you, in both sides, there are individuals who don't want dialogue. Why? Because when it comes to the government looks at the separatists, or restorationists as you call them, as a rebellious group of its citizens. And as a result of that, the way in which the government looks at them already places a big gap, and as a result limits the opportunity for actual dialogue. And when it comes to the separatists, when the separatists are looking at the government, they already have it in mind. For example, I remember in October 2017, when Ayok Trabe declared the restoration of the Southern Cameroon state, or we call it Ambazonia, and that became the talk of the time. And before that particular day, on the 22nd of September that same year, there was already an outcry from a majority of the people who went out marching on the streets with peace plans declaring that they want their independence. And there was a series of crackdowns that actually provoked situations to turn from what it is today into what it is today. And as a result of that, most of those who were actually who were behind the whole idea of separation came forward and made their ideas clear and their opinions clear that we want pure separation, complete separation. And since that day to this day we are talking, some of these guys have not moved from their position, and they are not willing to move because they believe that already they have an independent state. My only cry is that this independent state is at the detriment of the population.
The same people they say they want to protect?
The same people that they are actually fighting for, that it is their independence they are looking for, they are the ones losing their lives. And so when we come back, you discover that in that direction, those individuals whom, for example, rose up and said they want to lead the restoration, amidst them there are individuals who have their own ideas of what restoration means. Some of them don't even want to negotiate or discuss with their fellow separatists. And so there is a lot of division amidst them, and as long as there is division, they can't have a front. And so if they are divided amidst them, who do you want to dialogue with? So in another direction, the government will be looking and seeing a divisive group of individuals without a particular goal, because when you look, it seems as if every individual amidst these guys,
and that's what the government is saying,
they are looking for their personal benefits in the whole issue.
That's what the government is saying, that
so,
who are we to dialogue with if we are to dialogue now?
That is the issue. If they actually want to make a difference, then they must get to a place where they unite, and they should look for somebody who can represent them. And if that is going to happen, then it means there must be unity amidst the separatists. Without that unity, forget it. There's never any government that will discuss, so bring them at the dialogue table. And for example, when we had that Ayub Tabe and the government and co-heirs with the government actually went for, let me use the word pre-talks because we can't call it a dialogue either, that provoked something. We saw it as, okay, hope for a solution. Why? Because if there is somebody who rose up and created more havoc, it should be Ayub Tabe. He is the person that led this particular crisis to the state in which it is today. He is the one who asked for the independence, who said spoke of restoration. And since that day, multiple groups have emerged, each person having their own concept of restoration.
Okay.
And Jarvis to learn, I will say this: we are not here because we actually want to promote the activities of separatists or the intolerance of the government. We are here because we believe that we can talk to both sides to listen to us and look for a way to actually handle this situation, because if they don't do it, we have lives that are being lost every day. I am talking here, even went to my house, as you know, in a corner. It's difficult for me to enter there. So I've been here in Douala for years. Just imagine, I am not the only one. There are those who are in bushes in various areas. Some are in Nigeria, and
some said there are no people living in the bushes.
That was a criminal language, because I don't expect a minister of
head of reconstruction
whom have been appointed to head reconstruction to make such alterations. Coming out of his mouth means that he is not actually qualified to represent that particular reconstruction team. You can't say that the people. I remember that was not the first time. The first time he said it is the life of the Liberian people to be in the bushes. That is really a crime. And then he comes further again after he went for consultation. He alters his voice. This was that there are no people in the bushes. He will tell you that he made a statement after consultation, after being told that there are no people living in the bushes. I can prove him that there are people in the bushes.
Okay, we're coming back to you, Barrister John Aku. You've listened to this. I want to throw this question back to you. the separatists come deeply divided in terms of dialogue, and the government says we have been calling for dialogue, we have been meeting party A and party B, we are open to dialogue, but the separatists are not open to dialogue. Can we say that they are afraid of dialogue, and who should be blamed on this?
Yeah, we should be sincere as Cameroonians. There is no separatist or restoration forces that are not calling for dialogue or ready for dialogue. They have said and they insist that there can never be a dialogue in Yaoundé, and that they are calling for their own security. You cannot look at Yaoundé the way it is, that people were kidnapped out of Nehera Hotel in Nigeria, and sent or ambushed somewhere in Kondengi, and you are calling the same people that support the same movement to come to Yaoundé and dialogue. The government is seriously getting mad when you look at the way in which the crisis has been managed. Just to come back to what my fellow panelist Mbaku said, a lot of things which I believe very well that when a student is going in for an examination where a mathematics question has been given, the student will not say a history question and answer the question in a mathematics paper and believe he has written the exam correctly. I'm just telling you that the responses given by the government were situations created by the government. At the beginning, I would still insist that there was nothing like a bilingualism issue. There was nothing like disarmament. That's not what we are talking here. Nobody talked of Reconstruction Commission. Nobody talked about that. We are all bearing a testimony that at any time the government we have is trying to manage a crisis, as I said, a means of laundering international interests and get support of the international community around them, they will always bring down out such decisions, telling you that they are giving concessions. And other Cameroonians are saying that the government has been doing a lot. That is not what we are negotiating. Mbaku, we cannot be doubting that whatever we call the secessionist movement today started with what we call the Anglophone concession of teachers and lawyers. And a third person at the center, when you mention the Gogomo Commission,
the Paul
Gogomo Commission and its group, the best thing they did was to annul the consortium, then get their members arrested. So who was ready for dialogue? And who is available for dialogue?
But the government will tell you, Barrister, that when the Paul Gogomo Commission was created, they said they answered all their requests of the teachers, all were granted except that of a federation, and that disbanding the commission was not the fallout from the Paul Gogomo Commission.
I say it is a total failure. If we are here today, I will still confirm, and you will confess to me, maybe out of this platform, that the government committed a fallacy the moment the consortium was dissolved. From that day, the crisis we called the teachers and lawyers strike turned into something else. It is on. After this incident, I will tell you we are not going very far, that the mandate of the consortium was transferred to the diaspora.
To government most dreaded enemy.
Imagine that, to the diaspora. And that is why Satsiku and the others took over. And they will tell you that they did not self-proclaim themselves. The mandate was given to them from ground zero. We are not the ones. Who gave a bad response? If we were in a sincere government, like I've been insisting, this government, through the head of state, should come out publicly and apologize to Cameroonians on the way in which this crisis has been managed to where we are today. The number of souls lost were not lost when we were in continuous negotiation.
Barrister, the same consortium will tell you that they gave the mandate and took back the mandate, because there was there was a point in time when the consortium did a video with protesters and said they have taken back their mandate and they have declared Mark Barata and Tapang Ivo heads of the consortium at the time persona non grata.
There is no cause. It's just not like we are talking of the crisis and that Sisiku is negotiating within the ambit of the law. The highest lawyers are based with the government. Will they tell Cameroonians that sincerely Sisiku and the 9 others control the forces on the ground? If you need, Sisiku still remains an actor in the struggle. Sisiku still has the leadership of the struggle, but then other forces are stronger than he is, being in prison for all this period. We have and we get the statistics of those who manage logistics, those who are partner to the crisis. Why do we shy away as a government? They decided that they were going to meet in Geneva. They will be going to talk in Switzerland. You hear all of them. Tell of the Swiss talk. I believe Mbaku, who is also following online, will confirm that, or Leonard, those who have been reading. They are all confident that if Switzerland can dialogue, remember Switzerland is one of the most comfortable nations of the head of state. That's where he passes most of his weekend and holidays. And so, meaning the forum is not just chosen to suit them as restoration members, but also for the government, because the Continental Hotel can still host those meetings. And this is one of the most comfortable beds for our president. It means there is a need. They are talking of dialogue. The divisions among the restoration forces has never reduced or quelled down the need of what they are putting forward. We might have been divided in opinion, but we have a common God. The fact that there are so many religions, houses, does not mean that their God has changed. That is what we need to know. And I don't want those who said they are divided. The divided opinion has got more deeper when government to enter into the division. Meaning within...
Well, when you say government entered into the division, what do you mean, Barrister?
Jarvis, you are believing you are learned also. That within where we are, there is politics in Cameroon. Not so. We have government in the opposition. So when we are being told, with statistics given, that this party was created to divide this one, and so too, the crisis has created fractions and forces by the government. You will go to various areas who were just there, or the letter written by the funds in Lebiana. They will tell you that all what happened was masterminded by members of the government, that such a letter should come out. Meaning within the Anglophone crisis, within the forces of what we call the Ambazonian Defense Forces, there is government Ambazonian Defense Forces. That one we cannot.
Can you prove that?
No, it is not a matter. I'm telling you what is going on. Remember, in Gabu gave us an incident that the vigilante group that assisted the government, none of the members had to be found, but they work with the government at night.
And they have database of this same...
Exactly. I'm not the one saying it. It's what was read over TV. And my investigation carried out was not me. The investigation was carried out by the government. That they work with the vigilante group at the night when the massacre was created. After the massacre, government could lay hands on 3 military and none of the vigilante groups. Gives us an idea that within the Amazonian defense forces, there are government defense forces.
Barrister, you as a learned person, why will the government says we want a dialogue, and at the point in time, the non-state armed groups will say they must come to the dialogue on either independent or nothing else? How then do you call it? Are they not saying that they don't want dialogue?
No, it is not. It is not. I believe when we got married, you hear that the girl told you that the father does not want to see you. If you really love the woman, did you abstain from seeing the father? And we went for such missions and we succeeded. Even when the message was given that I'm not for the marriage. The government has everything. Because those who are fighting at several times, they are Cameroonians. Talk to Cameroonians. We talk to terrorists in the north, and the fathers and the bishops or whosoever were arrested were free. So why not talk to Cameroonians? I believe the highest fear today is that there is a change of leadership, and that the new elite that is about to emerge, the old elite don't want it to go. And the information given out, I will insist that let the government in Yaoundé listen.
We are coming to that. I think we are coming to that.
Okay.
That's the second topic. Yes, that's the second topic. I think I made that in my motion that I earlier laid, that these are two provisions. Fabrice, you followed the discussion. I saw you at one point in time you were agitating to throw some light as far as what Mbaku pointed out. Fabrice, the government is telling us now that we have at least shifted from our position. Before, we did not want to hear the term federation. Before, we did not want people to debate on this topic of the Anglophone crisis. And today, we are going back to the freedom of mass communication law that was launched in 1990, which gives the freedom from the press to actually state their points and state it well. And today, the government will tell you that they are still operating under the 1990 freedom of association law that gives political party or individual the ability to associate and belong to wherever they want to belong to, and that they have given the opportunity and the freedom of speech and association. And the same government is telling you that we want to dialogue, and the separatists are telling us that, you know, this can be saying we don't want dialogue with the government, with this can be saying we want independent or nothing else. Where are we as a political leader?
Thank you very much. I would first of all like to say, if Cameroonians don't know, there is a serious competence problem in Yaoundé. most of these people that you are seeing them in offices as ministers, appointed leaders, delegates, head of commissions, are people who have power but they cannot think. And most of the time, the problems that are arising in government's attempt to find solutions to the Anglophone crisis is because of very incompetent people in commissions that, given to competent persons, solution will come out. Because as a government, there are actors. We have individuals in Cameroon that can facilitate the peace process in Cameroon in less than 6 months, who will go and talk to the separatists, and then they will listen to those persons. It is a matter of the quality of persons that we are talking about here. There are persons here in Cameroon that if they send them to the diaspora, go and talk to Cho Ayaba, go and talk to Akwanga Benedikwa, go and talk to Samuel Sako, go and talk to these people. They will go and talk to these people, and these people will listen to them. It is a quality of the person who is incarnating some values, credibility,
but
integrity.
These same qualities of person were present at the major national dialogue.
You are the one saying they were present. You are the one declaring that. If you are saying they were present, then you need to tell me the people you are saying they were present. Because those people in the diaspora are communicating with Cameroonians back home every day. And these same people that they are communicating with every day are decrying, proposing concrete solutions to the crisis to this government using the fourth arm of the government, which is the media. Yet the government is adamant, and this adamant nature is because of what I call bad faith. We have seen cases of conflicts in other African countries where former presidents with integrity, former statesmen and super diplomats have mediated. Why will the Cameroon government not go and contact somebody like JJ Rollins, go and talk to this your brothers that understand your system, and then give us the report of what? Ben Ayade of Cross River State that is taking care of so many of our refugees that are there. Why can they not go and see such men of integrity? Why are they running away from seeing the people that matters? In Cameroon, we have such people who are Cameroonians. The thing is this.
Who are those such people?
I am not the one to mention names. The incompetent government can as well recruit competent people, and then the people will work in order to find solutions to this. Because I have a problem with competence in this country. There are situations in this country where you are following up documents in the ministry in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, or you are following up cases in the military tribunal. I have seen situations where somebody is arrested, and then they just go and copy crimes of another person and come and paste on the name of that person with different legal articulations, dates, and even some kind of things, and then you find out that the person who is typing the document becomes dumbfounded in front of a lawyer to justify him or herself for such accusations. It has happened in so many cases of those arrested in the case of Anglophone crisis. Go to the military tribunal and follow up cases. Then you will be so shocked to see how the government is so incompetent in managing crisis.
When you say incompetent, what do you mean? Because this is the same government.
When I talk about incompetent,
this is the same government.
This incompetence.
Let me.
No, I have already understood why you are trying to say.
I want to ask you. I
have understood what you want to say.
But you are not in my mind. Let me ask you the question.
Is stemmed as far back as 1982 when Portugal came to power. In 1984, Fongoji Dinka wrote a letter to the presidency. The changing of the name from Federal Republic to United Republic, and from United Republic to the Republic, will cause a problem in future. He gave deaf ears and created rather commissions that had never solved any problem. In the 1990s, with the coming of multi-parties, is the same thing. In 1992, when they clamored for a national sovereign conference, the government replaced it with some sort of tripartite conference that is the same like this national dialogue that never gave any solution. 1996, you people came again and said constitution. They put in decentralization whatsoever. It has never been implemented. What do you call that? Is it not incompetence? It's incompetence. Look at the construction works of Cameroon. Which construction work in Cameroon, major projects? Let's just take at the numerous dams that have been cited. Because since I was in primary school, I started hearing about Lompanga Dam, Songlulu Dam, Mvele Dam. It has never been completed till today. Look at our sports stadium. We are being disgraced every day on the international scene.
But we have
social media. That is incompetence.
We have Jacoma Stadium.
No, we should not be citing out of 100 cases, Mr.
We have that in Limbe. We have that in Boya.
See, we believe at the level of our party, PAP, we believe in competence, management, and accountability, which is the principles that should build a society. I will not give you a task of 10 jobs to do, and you succeed in one job, and you carry out propaganda on the one job to make it seem as if you have done something marvelous, whereas other people with the same capacity, same resources, or even less are doing more greater job that you are unable to do. So it is our government that is guilty of subjecting its citizens to bondage, subjecting Cameroonians into misery, underdevelopment and poverty, and it is this government that don't want to solve the Anglophone crisis.
I think I'll come back to you. I'll come back to other members to launch part 2 of this discussion. This one says the government has exercised a lot of bad faith. The so-called division among the camp of the freedom fighters is not a good enough excuse for dialogue not to take place when the government show a clear sort of genuine willingness to dialogue. The freedom fighters shall compose a team for that purpose. Let the government show a sincere willingness to dialogue first and see if a team of dialogue will not be composed from any of the from among the freedom fighters. A sincere dialogue cannot be done in Yaoundé with Yaoundé as a party and the mediator at the same time. That is not going to work. This one is coming from Mr. Fepsa Erin Brinda. This other one is, good afternoon, wise men. The government is doing everything possible to frustrate the struggle, so they are doing everything to divide the leaders. For Southern Cameroon to be re-represented, the government should give a leeway for Anglophone General Assembly to take place. This one is coming from Kazula in Lum. This other one reads, it says, this one reads that, okay, please, when you send us a message, avoid using hate speech and avoid using words is not Republican. This one says, I am against dialogue because we cannot sit and talk with those who are not willing enough to listen to us. It's coming from Oduku in Tombe. This one say, Simi writing from Limbe, say, Barrister, you are the type of people we need to see as Anglophones out of this mess. I want to say, when you are sending us a message, please keep it short and simple. Avoid using insult and hate speech. As far as the topic is concerned, we are open to your views, and your views may not necessarily be your beliefs. We'll take on the second topic, which is who benefits from the suffering of the common man. There is an economy of war. Who benefits from the suffering? Dialogue, those who are against dialogue, there are two parties involved. As earlier indicated, there are a party from the economic perspective and there are party from the legal perspective that wants to dialogue. The economic perspective, that is the emergence of new elites. I'll start with you, Senior Barrister Ako John, before coming to Professor Mark. I'll start with you on this. We are looking at who benefits from this war. Who benefit from this war? I want to start with you because there's some legal implications involving what I want to ask you now, because some will say that there is nothing as separation, secessionists and restorationists, that the restorationists should be the government who worked out from the 1961 deal, which was that there should be a United Republic of Cameroon. That since it was changed to federal to La République du Cameroun, means that they have actually worked out from the deal and they are the separatists, and that's why they said the Anglophone are struggling to fight for the reunion back of the 1961. If we are looking at this, who then benefit from this war? Because the common man is bleeding.
Yeah, the common man is bleeding. Remember where we ended. I was equally talking of the development of the new elite, and many of those who think that today there are a lot of, they call them young boys and men who don't even master politics, cannot come from nowhere and start talking as if the nation belongs to them, that they have been there before these very young people. I want once again to get back into history. Remember when the UPC movement was created in French Cameroon, there was equally a total outcry by the French forces that it is not supposed to be, that Cameroon was not ready for independence. I will tell you that. And that to them, many of the wish of the UPC leaders was that there should be reunification before independence, which was equally contrary. It caused a lot of division among Cameroonian politicians. Remember that somebody like André Marimbida was very brief in the French government at the time, and Ahidjo took over because the French believed that with Ahidjo, they could use him easily to crush the UPC movement. And exactly the results were obtained. But has that changed? The French themselves came later after independence and believed now very strongly that there was a need for the unification of the two Cameroons. If there is a need for the unification of two Cameroons, it came to pass that French Cameroon got its independence on the 1st of January 1960, and that Southern Cameroon got its independence on the 1st of October 1961. These were the terms of the agreement. If at one point Ndele said there was no unification with French Cameroon and Foncha said there should be unification of French Cameroon, did we use arms? Were there arms? Were they said to be non-negotiable, or they could not talk? These are the failures that the history that we have studied is unable to lead us through. If the government believes very strongly that there is no restoration, and one thing that can keep in peace, because there were two people that in 1961. Let's get into a dialogue. That is the same dialogue. There was the Monthly Conference. There was the Bamenda Conference. There was the Yaoundé Tripartite Conference. There was the referendum or the plebiscite. Why are we shy of accepting those points even when proposed on the agenda? The United Nations did not just reject the third option. The third option of independence for Southern Cameroon was taken right up to the United Nations before discussion were made and said these other two options were popular, and so they should go for a plebiscite. So why not go into dialogue? If your opinion is powerful, let's get to dialogue.
Are you by any way confirming the views of late barrister Bernard Muna, who said that this country was united by the will of the people and not by the will of anybody else?
That is a self-expression of what I said. We don't use arms. And you remember Wiba told them, we did not come together with arms and cannot keep people by arms. Arms have learned to separate people. I will tell you that the country called Yugoslavia, I don't know if you were there when Yugoslavia existed as a nation. And many will believe now that the name Yugoslavia does not exist because they have all disappeared. And when you go to Estimo, or we talk of Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Yes, Bosnia-Herzegovina.
As well, there is Bosnia now and there is Herzegovina. We have to live very strongly. There was one Czechoslovakia, which today we are talking. Children that came today will not tell you that Czech exists or Czechoslovakia existed. We have Czech Republic and we have Slovakia. Why do you think this might not take us to that? It took the Sudanese 20 years, which other claim that we are just 4 years, so we will massacre them. Please, let's be careful if we are statesmen. If you govern a nation, it is the will of the people and not your will. You don't impose on people. That is what we see. You have recent in the French government, we talk of the yellow shirts, gilets jaunes. No matter how long these guys stay on the street, government is talking to them. Government is passing decisions on a daily basis. We have not seen arms on the street. Forget about separation. We have not seen military brutalizing them. Sleep while you want to sleep, don't destroy. That's what the military and the police is doing. Okay. You have the right to come out.
Now, who benefits from this again? When I look at ECOWAS, Mali, the conflict in Mali, which is ongoing, has been there for over 4 months. But ECOWAS sent a commission led by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to go and mediate. As we speak right now, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan team, they are meeting with the opposition government. But now with Semak, what's happening? Does it mean that Semak benefits?
Well, my brother, I don't want to get back to delve into things which we might have discussed in other platforms. That the decision for us to even organize a small meeting in Yaoundé must come from France. And that is why the French ambassador, every time a new diplomat visits the Unity Palace, he goes to find out the report. When we concluded the Grand National Dialogue, as we put it, the head of state did not sign the resolution. He went first to France and came back before acknowledging what was it.
Even the Wazizi issue, he went back to the presidency and came and gave a press conference.
That is what it is. We didn't say, are we a nation? The whole of FEMA is full of former French colonies. How do they make decisions of their own? The next person, remember we were told, pressed otherwise, in 1992, they fought out of the first multi-party elections in Cameroon, that concessions were not made with France. That's why the situation remained the way it was. So we should not be killing ourselves on the table. France controls the lion's share, and within the French diplomacy in Africa, one of the highest market France had in Europe is through the natural resources of its African colonies. Leaving Africa will mean the economy of France is going to drop. Vladimir Putin said it, and many other. Matteo Renzi, the former leader in Italy, he said France needs to liberate Africans, and this is the struggle. And when I read through some of economic reports yesterday, the first 10 strongest economy in Africa, I realized that 10 economies, there is no French economy. There is none. And then countries like Ethiopia are standing in front. This gives us an idea that even in the Anglophone crisis, France is benefiting. They are supplying arms. They are giving a lot of arms budget. They are coming to reconstruct. Look at France bringing 40 billion to reconstruct Southern Cameroon. Who will pay? We have money in French banks as
I'll be coming back to you, Barrister.
You gave me a question. Let me exhaust my money. I'm telling you that the French government needs to be x-rayed, if at all. We need an international commission to even table a case before the ICJ. Why not at the International Criminal Court? A lot of assassinations in Africa have been perpetrated by the French. I was embarrassed when I heard France is repatriating 19 corpses of Algerians that were killed somehow a century ago, and the world was quiet. Corpses were being repatriated to Algeria. That is just one of the bigger things when you look at France. The French policies in Africa are expiring, and there is, as I said, there is a new Africa. The youths of Africans today cannot reason again on the lines of the errors of the past. France manipulated in Fumban, and that is how the agreement went, that we will accept them, then we'll continue changing. On 1966, multipartism was very flourishing in the Northwest and the Southwest. It was killed in 1966 with the creation of the uniparty state, the CNU. It moves up to today. Where in the world have you seen a country concentrating on of name? If this name was not a problem, where are we today? Please, the new elite of Cameroon, I'm just telling you that those who are doing the politics are Paul Tasson. You see how his word changes as days go by. Simply telling you that the brain of the past, they have expired. We need new methods of approach. If these people were in school in 1960, they need to read books today in 2000.
I'll be coming back to you, Barrister.
Themselves in line with what is going on.
I'll be coming back to you, Barrister. Let me get to the Pan-Africanists. I think you've talked for quite some time. You allow Barrister to talk, so part of your time, you was talking based on part of your time. I'll come back to you, Professor Mark. The ECOWAS, I've been following the event in Mali closely when President Keita had a problem with his main opposition rival, who was the one that actually supported him to become president, and took now as an opposition tone, demanding his resignation. Happily enough, ECOWAS sent a representative, or not representative, a team of mediation, which they have not yet moved to an armed level that go and mediate. As we speak, they met with the president. The president called for a meeting with all the agitators. The agitators, they did not meet. They did not have a conclusive end. And later, the ECOWAS now is meeting with the opposition as we speak right now. But with the case of Cameroon, we have CEMAC, we have OAU, because I believe that if it's more than the ECOWAS, they will take it now to the African Union. Now, we have been 4 years on into this armed conflict. Can we say that the silence of CEMAC, the silence of OAU is because they are benefiting from the war, and not just the government, and equally France benefiting?
Jarvis, you are asking me a question that already Barrister answered, but I will come back to it. You see, there is nothing that happens in the French colonized Africa, precisely where, let's use the CEMAC zone, which has about 4 of the different nations that France actually colonized, that actually happens without the Accord of France. If you remember, to remind you again, after the so-called national dialogue, the president of Cameroon, who is supposed to be a sovereign, because every time there's an issue in Cameroon, you hear Cameroon is a sovereign nation. This president of ours traveled to France to give reports, and he uttered those words from his mouth. He went to give report to his grandson in France. And if such a thing can happen, what do you expect that should actually happen without the influence of France in Africa? Africa on daily basis is actually chopping fat from Africa. When you look at the situation in which we are in, they are enriching their countries with our wealth. If you can remember, I will cite this to you. Do you know that every year, out of the 14 French countries that are in Cameroon and in Africa, France collects over 500 billion US dollar from Africa to build their colony with, their country with? And when they do that, they turn and look at us and call us poor. Where do you believe that France has nothing like resources? All what France has is coming from Africa. But they turn up. I remember the last time the president of France says, if we don't take injections, nobody should come to France. I want to appreciate that particular move. If possibly our government could listen, and every citizen of Africa could listen and choose not to travel abroad, will make a big difference. The Schengen just made a list of countries that should not travel out to their nations. Don't you see that is an advantage? It's supposed to be an advantage. We should sit in Africa and build Africa rather than keep on moving from country to country. Somebody will look at it. You ask the question, why is it that these leaders that we have, so-called leaders, cannot build good hospitals in their country? Reason is because all of them, they are French citizens. They are actually not Cameroonians, not Africans. And
what do you mean by they are not Africans and they are not Cameroonian? The president of Cameroon is a Cameroonian.
He is a Cameroonian by birth, not a Cameroonian by nationality, because he's having a French nationality.
You have proof to show.
I might not be giving you proofs, but I'm telling you that every one of them have double nationality.
But the constitution doesn't give room for double nationality. Where do you have
that one aside? Let's talk on it. Let me show you something. Let's forget about the nationality and constitutional demands of our nation. Let's look at things. Who educated this president? It's France. They educated most of them to follow their culture, and so most of those who actually schooled in France and most of those who are even schooling today in Cameroon have been schooled to become French citizens, to become practically Europeans, not Africans. There is nothing in the academic curriculum that reflects the African culture. There's nothing in our curriculum that actually reflects you to be a Cameroonian. Everything you study is about Europe and France. And what do you expect from them to come and take decisions against France? No, they cannot take any decision against France. So at the end of the day, when a decision is to be taken, France needs to be consulted to give that go ahead. And if France does not say go ahead, then the situation remains. For example, the situation in Cameroon presently, we are talking about in the northwest and the southwest, is actually something that France will want to see it, if possibly, let the Anglophone be wiped out. And if that is not possible, because it will never be possible, then they should use different strategies. Let them allow the armed crisis to continue so that they can be killing them gradually. And you discover it is our brothers and sisters that are suffering over there.
Okay.
We are the ones dying every day. And the person we call president and the leaders that have been put in position have nothing to say to stop the problem. As the barrister said from the beginning of his discussion, he said there is just one person with a key to this solution of this problem, and that's Mr. Biya. If the president,
but they say Mr. Biya that they say the Anglophones, non-state armed groups leaders are saying they don't trust. How will you want he to resolve the crisis?
He is the one.
Just said he's incompetent.
He is the one who ordered the wars
of the crisis.
November. Don't make me to begin to talk. When he said that he engaged a war, he's the one who called for the war, so he has the right to stop it.
But he will say that he has not called for war, that he just gave a declaration of defense, not a war.
Declaration of defense from who? Who was supposed to defend himself? The northwest and the southwest have always been like that. There was a military encroachment. In fact, military actually entered and engaged war.
Okay.
And I am talking because I have experienced a serious fight. I sat in front of my house and I saw how boys came out with stones in their hands, and 4 of them were shot with live bullet. And that particular day, my wife was shot by the stomach. What do you expect me to say? Was it those boys who actually came with guns? No. Yaoundé sent military to engage fighting, and when that happened, it engaged this war. This problem we are talking got worse. So if we want to talk, there is just one person who has the solution to this problem. That person is the president of this nation. If he gets up and say, okay, let the military withdraw itself from that particular environment, let us go to the table and discuss, this thing will end.
Okay,
but because he believes in his pride and playing the game of France, this situation will continue.
We'll be coming back to you. Let me come to Fabrice. Fabrice, before Mbaku, I'll come to Fabrice from Mbaku. Mbaku is a journalist. Fabrice, let me come to Fabrice. Let me come to Fabrice. Fabrice, I want to say Mbaku. Professor Mark said the person that has the key to this is President Biya. You say he's incompetent. But how will an incompetent man, as described by you, be able to solve a crisis? Secondly, who benefits from this crisis? People say if the crisis is to end now, PAP will not have a key point to lay their political agenda.
Yeah, I will first of all like to say that you see, the problem of Mr. Biya and the CPDM regime is not just incompetence but long stay in power, which is characterized with greed.
So you have added another one now.
Yeah, which is characterized with greed, manipulation, and the desire to see that the African continent, Cameroon in particular, is in a shrink. So I would like to say that as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned, one of the person that will be an obstacle for the crisis to be truly resolved is Mr. Biya and the CPDM regime. Southern Cameroonians don't trust the Biya government again.
How do you
now let me say this. The aspect of not trusting doesn't mean that through the legal means we cannot obtain ceasefire or peace. Those are two different things. We should not confuse that. I cannot trust you, but I can work with you for something of common benefit. Yes, because the trust, the gentleman agreement of the French government and the Southern Cameroonians had been abrogated, had been annihilated. That means there is no trust again. But based on constitution, based on international law, based on dispositions, we could go into an agreement that what we all have constraints that are backing us up from our side based on what we have tabled in a neutral institution or individuals that are mediating for us. So that said, I have already said, we of the PAP have said that word. For this crisis to end, it is very, very simple. There are people who can facilitate the peace process, who can discuss with the government, carry out documented reports or requirements of the government, discuss with the separatists, carry out report or documented requirements. Then now, based on what they have gathered after a given period of time, they now come to public and make a press conference. This is what the government of Cameroon wants. This is what the separatists wants. We cannot go for a negotiation or a dialogue at this place by this time and everything will be fine. It is not even complicated. The thing is, the government doesn't want to go there. And then talking about the benefit, I would say
some people will say that
individuals
doesn't want that this crisis.
No, let me first of all say this. Let me first of all say this, Mr. Let me say this, Mr. Jarvis, because you know, there is some kind of myopic conceptions that people have that it really disturbs sometimes. In 2011, PAP was actually third in presidential elections out of 23 candidates, but it was forced and officially we were declared the fifth position out of 23 candidates. And by 2016,
but it's a forge. Do you have evidence?
Of course, I am not the one to tell you that the electoral system of Cameroon is one that is designed to benefit an individual and his party. So that one is something that is a fact. It's not even disputable. So by 2016, we as a party had been struggling to see how we make a Republican move towards changing the political narrative of Cameroon. Unfortunately, the crisis came. And that is to say that the Anglophone crisis had made political party representation in the Republic of Cameroon to be against the Anglophone political parties. Because Northwest and Southwest is the bastion of support of Popular Action Party.
And you will not expect me, Leonard, to go to Norway and South and start telling people about politics at this moment in time that I'm supposed to comfort them, I'm supposed to give them food to eat, I'm supposed to build them psychologically, let them first of all be comfortable in that psychological war and physical war they are going through. That is first of all the first thing. And that's why at the early stage of the crisis, the Popular Action Party thought of a humanitarian wing that has been carrying out humanitarian actions. So we are not for that type of leadership that you want to be a leader, but the people you are leading are telling you that please, at this particular point, you were supposed to do like this. You say, no, what I have decided is final. It's not, that is not the case. Okay. I'm talking about international diplomacy. There are a lot of countries that are benefiting from the Anglophone crisis. They have talked a lot about France. The only thing I wanted to point out and let people know is that if the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon was an Anglophone country, that means an Anglo-Saxon country, and let's say the Northwest and Southwest region was part of the Anglo-Saxon country that French does not have control, France would have been in support of the breakaway state. You know why? Because she wants to establish a new sphere of influence. That she will go there and establish a new sphere of influence. That has been French policy. That is the case with the Biafran war. That is the case with the Sudanese war. That is the case with Eritrea. That is the case. France had always been, wherever she sees that she does not have any influence and people want to break away, she will go and support breakaway. But since in Cameroon,
France supported the Biafran,
of course, France was the first country to recognize the Biafran Republic. France even told Ojukwu Odumegwu that he should be prepared to implement the French culture and system of education in Biafra. The only country that rejected supporting France to do that was Amadou Ahidjo, Cameroon, because that was the only place to smuggle goods because of the economic warfare and food blockade that could not go to Biafra, to pass through Cameroon. Gabon recognized, Cote d'Ivoire recognized, all these people were under France influence. So France had always had that policy of seeing where there is problem, being very happy and enthusiastic that people are divided, to go there and help the people to separate so that she can establish sphere of influence. So for the situation of Cameroon, France will never support the breakaway state of Amazonia because it will totally deprive France of the huge benefits of France in Cameroon, and especially because the Northwest and Southwest is having the greatest contribution to the gross domestic product of the country and the natural resources. So you see that at this point in time, France is the main enemy of the southern Cameroonian people as far as international actors are concerned. One, and another country that people always ignore is Israel. The government of Cameroon is having security accords with Israel that are training this bee that they don't. So they know only repression. So they are benefiting. So Israel is benefiting. They are there to help dictatorship and maintain a government that is defunct and illegitimate.
Thank you very much. I take some messages on Facebook. To all those of you watching us online, I want to say happy Sunday to you. We want to equally say that we acknowledge your contributions. Thank you, my brothers in the media house. Cameroon need people like you. This other one say why Cameroon leadership or government refuse to end this foolishness. Why France is so interested? Why is France so interested in Africa? This other one says sit in Africa and build Africa. Are you kidding me? The 19th century leaders are still sitting tight with all wealth and ask you to sit there and die. This other message read, it says thank you sir, I love your analysis, barrister. This other one says Cameroon is this one is coming from FEPSA. It says Cameroon is apparently afraid of dialogue. This other one coming from Uchaba. It says Francophone loves to stay with France. Petworth again say good afternoon. That is great job you guys are doing. Dr. John Ako John Mashfire is coming from Sunday Egbe. Dingo Neve says we are going already, and happy Sunday to you. Awilo Prince, when people say Cameroon is one, why did the UN delegation presented two separate maps of Cameroon to the head of state, Biya? Lefang Bertrand, greetings to you in the studio watching from Istanbul. Someone asks Fifi Akaline says, is there one member of CRM on the panel? No, there is no CRM today on the panel. This one reads, happy Sunday to you all. Say, good job, Barrister. I really enjoy your analysis. I agree with you in what you are saying. We need you to be frequent on the panel such that we can have a balance of opinion and an in-depth analysis. Thank you very much, gentlemen watching on social media. Those of you watching on social media, we are fastly running out of time. I'll come back to you, Mbaku Jude. Mbaku, you are a journalist. You've been covering this event. I know that you definitely should know who benefits. Some people are accusing the media, especially the government spokesperson Syria Tonfak, accusing the media that the media is grossly misrepresenting facts on the ground as far as the armed conflict is concerned. He maintains that the government is fighting terrorists who are against the people, and you have been covering the event on the ground. Is it true that the media to benefit from this agitation and don't want it to end by doing propaganda?
And the same state security forces have gotten the guts to call many journalists
terrorist
journalists. It's a shame. Well, let me not delve into that. Who benefits? In a war situation like that which we are in, there's actually very little to benefit. And the few people who benefit are individuals. You don't have groups of persons, like a reasonable group of persons who benefit. Cameroon as a nation does not benefit. Anglophone as a section of this country does not benefit. Africa as a whole does not benefit. You understand? The people who benefit are those who instigate us to go this length. And it's unfortunate Africa is still this primitive to think that we can resolve these issues by going to war. After the First World War, I'm sure it's Second World War rather, we saw the European countries, they adopted, they learned their lessons that war is not the ultimate solution. That is why you have when people like Wales, Northern Ireland, and Britain and all that, when they break up from the UK, you still have some serenity in that part of the world, because they understood that it is not by going to war that will solve this issue. And it's only then when Africans, we are still very behind, when Africans have reached that level where we understand that war is not a solution, that we must not be manipulated by the Europeans to fight war, because we are still living in the slavery and the slave trade era where the whites will come, take us from Africa, go to America, work in American plantations, take the products of America into Europe, enjoy in Europe, and come back with some of them Africa and buy more slaves. So it's still a circus. What I'm saying is, we don't benefit because we don't produce the guns that we used here. Few days ago, the Cameroon government shipped in more armor cars. I'm sure you must have seen those new brand armor cars.
Different arms of
security.
Came 2 weeks ago.
Do we produce, Jervis? Do we produce one? Have we ever produced even a motorcycle in this country? Why do we spend so much money? Do you know the cost of one armor car and the cost of dialogue? Now, if we were to take that money for armor car and invest in our education and invest in our agriculture and say, okay, guys, let's keep. Do you know why we Catalonia and Spain? Within that era, we started our crisis before them. They came in, met us in the same crisis. They resolved their own within less than 6 months, and it was gone because they realized, the whites have realized, they were fighting wars too. We have the Glorious Revolution, which somebody just mentioned a few minutes ago. We have the French Revolution. We have many of those revolutions, but they realized that war was not the problem, and so they don't go them into war. Spain and Catalonia, they resolved their issue very peacefully, and they are now enjoying. What is the problem with us black people? We are, in as much as we say Black Lives Matters, we don't respect black lives, because if we respect black life, we create an opportunity for everyone who listen to everybody and solve our issues amicably. But thanks to the effort, if for somebody who does not see the influence of France in Africa and in Cameroon in particular, you definitely need a spiritualist to deliver you from eye problems, because France has caused a lot of pain on Africa, and only when we come collectively, as whether La République du Cameroon or as Southern Cameroon or as Chad or whatever, as Africans, and realize that these guys are taking us for granted. They take our cocoa from. How can you come to Africa? You take our cocoa, you take our coffee, you take our timber, you take everything, you ship to France. You enjoy your children, eat the best butter and all that, the best chocolate. You instead rather produce war weapons and send them back to Africa. Africans stupidly take these weapons and are killing one another just because we can't dialogue. So The Cameroon government is the main protagonist. Nobody is benefiting. All of us as Africans, we are suffering. But there's somebody who needs to put this suffering to an end. And the main protagonist, they need to come to play. Our diaspora leaders, when I say our diaspora leaders, I mean our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora, who are leading this other movement, the Ambazonian movement. Our brothers who are in government. When I say our brothers in government, I mean Paul Biya's leadership, President Paul Biya's leadership and his government. They need to come together and see how they can work for the benefit of Africa. And this is where I regret the non-existence of great African people who wanted an Africa that could be united like the Muammar Gaddafi, so that we could solve these issues amicably.
I said the independence of Ghana would have been meaningless unless it is linked with the total emancipation for its different African states. It is with that we are slowly but surely come to an end of today's edition of our program. But before then, Barrister John Ako, your last word before we take leave of you.
Yeah. It's a pleasure again once more, because I could not let it go. It should not be like if we were too biased on the platform not to have cited that the very gains of this particular revolution is going to the elites. A lot of them don't want the war to end. A lot of petrol bonds and again other bad businesses that are flowing on along the zone, still on the benefit of these same people. Those who are military people are on mission in the two regions, and they believe that the war should continue because a lot of budget tilted towards this particular direction. There is a need for peace for Cameroon. There is a need for tranquility. There is a need for Cameroonians to talk as one another. It is an appeal I'm making to the government that if Cameroon is a state of law, there is a need to exhaust amicable solutions rather than war or arms. I will tell you now that at the end of the Second World War, many would have thought that Germany was going to be the enemy to the whole of Europe. But I'm surprisingly today telling them that Germany is the powerhouse of Europe. The European Central Bank is being controlled by Germany, and nobody gets money without the visa of the German government. This is what teaching we receive, that there is a need for peace rather than war. Arms have never solved any issue. There is a need for the government of Cameroon to approach its citizens in a very sincere manner, and that nobody wins in war and nobody profits. There is no disgrace as an individual. Let's take that pen and call for an inclusive dialogue. Get back to your people and render a state-recognized apology. We were mentioning the situation in Spain. The government of Spain, after the hustle with Barcelona, or the Catalonians, sent a public apology to the people of Barcelona for what force the military used, not for the souls they killed. I mean, usage of excessive force, which we have not, we have gone above to kill our own very citizens. There is need for peace, and there is need for us to exhaust all what it takes to settle a crisis of this nature amicably.
Cissé, the Prime Minister of Mali, Cissé issued a state apology yesterday concerning the heavy use of force on last week Friday protests that led to the killing of 11 protesters in Mali. Thanks very much. That's just for information for those watching us. Professor Mark, your last one before we go briefly.
It is going to be an advantage if this war actually ends. Why? Because the citizens of Cameroon at this particular moment are suffering, and if this suffering is going to stop, then there is need for these gunshots to stop. Why? Because it's practically impossible for normal business to go on with war in the northwest and in the southwest, and I believe that the government is losing more than just its citizens, because at this particular moment we are running at a deficit. So I think it is time for the government to do something to solve the problem. We know that, as I said earlier, the government is the only legitimate authority in this particular crisis to have that, to be able to stop it. And if they cannot solve it, then it means that we have been doomed.
Thank you very much. Baku Jute, Fabrice Lena, your last word before we take leave. Very briefly, we have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jarvis, for inviting me for this program. The last thing I would like to tell Cameroonians is that we know the youths have a lot to play as far as putting their own efforts and intellectual capacity to end this crisis is concerned. So we believe that if we all come on board and in our different platforms push through, lobby, for the people concerned to really sign this ceasefire accord, so that peace can return in the Northwest and Southwest. It will be so advantageous to us. At the level of our party, we are doing a lot of efforts, and I believe very soon it will yield fruit in order to discuss and give report to the people that matter, so that they can sign a ceasefire, which we have been clamoring for since 2016.
Greetings to you all in the house. The government is waiting to take instructions. This one was deleted just when I was about to read. Thank you very much to all those of you participating. Back with Judy, and last one before we go briefly.
Thank you. I just want to inform the actors that the United Nations had called for a unilateral global ceasefire, that everybody everywhere around the globe should keep down arms so that we should focus on coronavirus. So the world is even having more problems to solve than what is happening in Cameroon. So my very humble plea is that we, at the moment where we are saying that Black Lives Matter across the globe, we should equally look back at ourselves if we respect fellow black man, and then keep down the arms and struggle to see how everyone can live together in this land that God has given us for free.
Melissa from Mancon, greetings to you all in the house. The government is waiting to take instructions from France to solve Anglophone problems. Thank you very much. That was it for today's edition of House of Commons. You listen to the two motions: who is against dialogue, and the second motion was Anglophone crisis, who benefits from the ongoing crisis. All those of you who took our time to participate on today's edition of our program, want to say thanks very much for your participation, and we want to tell you that rebroadcast of this program comes up exactly at 1 p.m. on Monday. 1 p.m. Monday, you have a rebroadcast, and later night today there will be a rebroadcast of this same program. You can follow the program on www.btmediagroup.org, www.btmediagroup.net, www.btmediagroup.net, or you can go to our Facebook page, My Media Prime, and stay tuned to other programs on My Media Prime. I want to say, no matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. What should matter for you today is that you should know the truth, and you should know that the truth shall set you free. My name is Tamai Jarvis.